Hello. Uh, I am honored to be able to participate today and thank the Empowering Communities Through Education and the ICA Domus Trust for setting up this presentation and for the work being done to build more cooperatives in Chennai. I'm very excited about what's happening and looking forward to seeing great success. A bit of introduction about me. My name is John McNamara. I'm the co-executive director of the Northwest Cooperative Development Center based in Olympia, Washington. We serve the northwestern states of Idaho, Washington, and Oregon in the United States. I'm also on faculty with the International Center for Co-op Management based in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And prior to my work with those organizations, I also uh, have worked for 26 years with Union Cab Madison Cooperative, a taxi cab cooperative in Madison, Wisconsin, in the United States. And part of what I'll be talking to you today will be about coming from that experience as both a cab driver, but also as someone who's worked very closely over the last 10 years, helping workers start cooperatives and purchase existing businesses for cooperatives to become a cooperative. So some of the major challenges include coordination, capital, and the nature of the workforce. First, being able to pull together large groups of people and develop leadership, but also establishing clear communication channels is really important. We find that there needs to be a real direct connection between the leadership and the rank and file. Democracy really starts at the very early stage in cooperatives, and it's a central part of being cooperative. Um, Secondly, getting capital and resources for, especially for workers in low-income industries, can be very difficult. There are, finding ways to pool money from friends and family, from the community, crowdsourcing, but also there needs to be some level of grants and guaranteed loans. And this is where local government and financial institutions and even other cooperatives can come in to assist, as I'll talk about later. And then finally, I think especially for transportation workers, domestic workers, and home care workers, they're in a dispersed workforce, so the workers are spread out throughout the day while they're working, so they need to find a way to come together in a common space to share knowledge, to share friendship, and to build community within the organization. So some of the advantages being of the co-op, there's advantages for the members. There are also advantages for the community. For the members, collective ownership and access to resources. It allows cab drivers or transportation workers to collectively own the equipment, to own the place, to be able to share services in terms of supplies and buying power. Um, it also can create a better sense of attention to customer loyalty and service, which means quality goes up, and worker cooperatives tend to be leaders in their community in terms of delivering for their customers, and the customers repay that with loyalty. And then finally, of course, cooperatives, the workers actually have a voice in the organization. They get to run for the board of directors, but they're also going to be able to influence the policies and otherwise dictate where the organization is going to be putting its resources. For the communities and governments, there are also benefits. Worker cooperatives are rooted in the community. So a worker cooperative is not going to pick up and leave Chennai because another state or another city in India is offering a better deal to them. Their families and their entire life is based in that community. And so worker co-ops are going to stay there, unlike, say, an investor owned business that might be able to pick up operations and just leave the workers behind and go hire new workers to get a tax benefit. So worker co-ops stay put. They also keep their money in the community. So whereas an investor-owned firm, a lot of that money goes to distant investors who might spend it wherever they spend it. Worker co-ops are going to recycle that money in their community. So the money that is paid to a domestic worker in Chennai is going to then be spent in Chennai. And I think the estimates are that a dollar spent in a worker co-op is going to recycle 6 to 12 times before it actually leaves the community. So it keeps wealth tied to the community as well. And then ultimately, while there might be need some initial grants or subsidies to start worker co-ops, as I mentioned in the last screen, once co-ops are established, they're usually able to manage their own operations without the need for government handouts or benefits. And so they become very self-reliant and self-responsible, is part of the cooperative values. And this means that uh, they won't be searching again for subsidies. They'll be able to be productive members of the community and support the community as they are. Co-ops also have a very strong impact on the members. So, I mean, first and foremost, of course, wages and financial stability. Co-ops, worker co-ops tend to have higher and more stable incomes. They also have reduced disparity among the members. So, like the pay differential at Union Cab, for instance, when I was the general manager there, my pay was only 2.2 times the lowest paid member of the co-op, and that we see that again and again throughout cooperatives, worker cooperatives in the United States. And even at Mondragon, which is of course the largest worker co-op, their differential is maybe 9 to 1, and this compares to large investor-owned corporations where that disparity might be 300 or 350 to 1. So very tight wage scale, which means that everybody benefits. Also, they have better working conditions. That extra money that would normally go to investors usually is used to improve access to benefits, create safe and humane working conditions, and create better job security. So co-ops in a downturn will often do collective across the board pay cuts instead of layoffs because they want to keep everybody working, and that's really a good thing, and it keeps the community together. Other impacts include a better work-life balance. So because they don't necessarily have better income, they don't have to work as many hours. It gives them more time to spend with friends and family, to build social connections, to work within the community, to build stronger neighborhoods, and ultimately a stronger city. And then finally, co-ops rely on their members to learn how to actually manage and run the co-op, and this means that there's a lot of human development that happens too. So co-ops are focused on educating their members to be able to sit on their board of directors, to be able to manage, and this translates into a better rounded, better educated populace within this community who can then provide benefits again to the larger community as well. Some of the factors contributing to co-op success, I think one is having a very strong leadership and a strong vision. So you want inspiring leaders who are also very effective, who are good at communicating, who are very open, and who are inspiring to people. And then really making sure that the membership shares and has buy-in in the goals and vision of the cooperative. And that leads to member engagement and participation, making sure that there's a way, even in large co-ops, for members to feel their voices being heard, that they have an opportunity to participate, that there's openness and transparency in the organization. People know what's going on. There aren't hidden agendas or secrets being held. And then also being able to hold leaders accountable. And I think that's also very important. And then finally, and really maybe most importantly, is making sure that the co-op functions in a way that is really focused on meeting the needs of the members, but also covering their capital and operational costs. They don't have to show a big profit at the end of the year. They can really just break even, but they do need to cover those capital costs, and they really do need to break even. So a key part of all of this, of course, is education, information, and training, the fifth cooperative principle. So this will help shift the mindset of being an employee or an owner to being a member, and a key part, to being a member and a collective member where you're working together with others to build a strong cooperative society. That's a key part of the cooperative project. So that means co-ops need to invest in their membership, so they don't need to rely on external experts all the time to manage the cooperative. Something we do as developers is we absolutely are helping people learn how to do it on their own. We don't want to have to be there every time for them. We want them to learn and then be able to teach the new people coming into their organization. And there should also, I think, in a worker co-op always be a pathway for every member from the first day they join the cooperative to see a pathway for them to either be on the board of directors or even to move into management as well. And so, that pathway should be open and transparent to everybody. So some of the ways government can support, and I'll talk really from the U.S. experience here. So right now, existing support at the federal level is, there's funding for technical assistance, and there's some laws that encourage transition to worker ownership. It's not a lot. Most of the work really happens at the state level, and in our state of Washington, we have 4 cooperative laws that give a wide variety of ways to organize cooperatives and workers into cooperatives. We've also recently created an employee ownership commission, which I serve on. That commission issues a tax credit for employees that are converting an existing business to a cooperative. It also has a revolving loan fund. So a revolving loan fund is money that's lent out of the fund. The interest goes back to the fund, so it keeps it building and growing with each project. This is a loan fund that does not require a personal guarantee by any of the members. It's designed to be low interest so that workers have access to capital, which is one of the key barriers that we identified earlier today. And then finally, it's going to do a census on employee-owned businesses every year to see what the actual economic impact is on employee ownership on the state of Washington's economy. There's still some needed support. I mean, there's definitely needs to be better funding in the urban area for access to technical assistance and professional assistance. There needs to be more affordable capital for cooperative ownership and better tax credits, including tax credits for those who are selling their businesses, so that there's a greater encouragement to sell to the employees. So some recommendations, I think, is for policymakers to consider new legislation that will support worker co-ops in a way that equals or exceeds the similar support that investor-owned businesses tend to get from policymakers. Also, research and organizers, I think, can definitely be identifying case studies that translate well to the Chennai experience, identify pathways for unions and other organizations in the solidarity economy to assist worker co-ops and how they can support each other. And then for existing cooperatives, I think it's really important, even if they're not in the worker co-op sector, if they're in the agriculture sector, no matter where they are, is to support cooperative growth through helping to fund some of these capital funds, helping to guarantee loans, working to amend laws, and also incubating co-ops that can support their needs. So one thing, for instance, if a producer co-op needs a particular service and they can't find a reliable vendor, they could consider starting a worker co-op to become the vendor. And then by incubating the co-op in that way, they create really good jobs in the community and they have a trusted vendor in the process. And this would be a great way for existing co-ops to also help build the movement. So that said, there's a lot happening in the world today in cooperatives. Next year, of course, is the International Year of Cooperatives, which is going to be a very exciting way to focus on what's happening. I think the work being done in Chennai with the drivers and the domestic workers and home care workers is cutting edge and very exciting. And it really shows something that I say a lot, that between the amount of infrastructure and support that is out there, as you can see today, the international support for what you're doing in Chennai, that there's really never been a better time to start a cooperative. And so this is a really great opportunity, and I look forward to your work, and I wish you the best of luck.